Hello students, today I will continue chapter number 11, force and pressure. So let's recall what we had done earlier. So you are familiar with the definition of force and exploring force. What do you mean by it? And effects of force we have discussed. And now the turn of types of forces. So we had discussed that there are two types of the forces. First is a contact force and other is a non-contact force. And contact forces are again are of two types, muscular and friction. And non-contact forces are magnetic force, electrostatic and gravitational force. So today we'll discuss in detail about the contact forces first of all. So in contact forces, first is a muscular force. So very simple definition of the muscular force is the force exerted by the muscles of our body. We use muscular force for various activities. And animals you must have seen like bullocks, horses, camels, donkeys, elephants. They also use muscular force to perform various tasks. So it means, see in the figure you can see that how different animals and the human beings, they are applying a muscular force. And muscular force is a contact force. You have to touch the object. If you have to lift a water from the well, you have to touch the bucket or the rope to pull the water from the well. Even you have to touch your bag to lift it. So this is the best example of the muscular force. Means we are using our muscles for the force. Muscles are applying a force to pick the object. So this is a contact force. Second example of contact force is force of friction. So first of all, understand what is force of friction. It is a force which opposes the motion of an object over a surface. So just remember one thing, that friction always act in the opposite direction of the motion. So that's why it is known as the opposing force. Let's take an example. A ball rolling on the ground gradually slows down and comes to rest due to the force of friction. You must have seen, let's take an example that you are having two different types of surfaces. One is very smoother surface and one is a rough surface. And you throw the ball on both the surfaces with the same speed. So on which surface the ball will stop first? You will reply that the ball will stop on the rough surface. The ball which is rolling on the rough surface will stop very fast. So what is the reason behind it? Because the force of friction is more. That's why the surface is rough and the friction is more. That's why the ball has stopped earlier. So if we stop pedaling a bicycle, it gradually slows down and comes to rest due to the force of friction. So these two are the examples. From these examples, you can understand that force of friction is again the example of a contact force, and it is a opposing force. So we have discussed the examples of contact force. First was a muscular force and second is a frictional force. Next comes the non-contact force. First non-contact force is a magnetic force. So magnetic force is a force which is exerted by magnets. For example, force of attraction and repulsion between two magnets. You have know that magnets attract the iron pieces towards it. Plus attraction and repulsion property also takes place in the magnets. So it is a non-contact force. As you can see that we take the magnet to the iron clips, it get attracted towards it from a distance. It's not compulsory that magnet should touch the iron pins that act from a distance. That's why magnetic force is an example of a non-contact force. Next, even same with the repulsion and attraction, as we bring north pole of one magnet and south pole of the one magnet from a distance, they get attracted. And if the like poles are there, like north and north pole, they repel from each other. So magnetic force is an example of the non-contact force. Second comes electrostatic force. So this is a type of a force exerted by a charged body on the another charged or uncharged body. So children, first of all, you have to remember the definition of it, that a force exerted by a charged body or on the another charged or uncharged body. Example, here we can take a plastic straw. When you rub the plastic straw, it gets charged. So it can attract the other suspended plastic straw. Or children, you used to do the one more thing, that plastic comb. When you do that plastic comb in your dry hair 10 to 15 times, that comb becomes charged. And you can attract the tiny bits of papers with the help of that comb. So that is an example of electrostatic force, and that force is for a few seconds. That is not forever. Okay, when you rub anything, that force comes into play. That object become charged, and that force comes into play by which it can attract the pieces towards it. So this was your electrostatic force. Next comes the gravitational force. This is another example of the non-contact force. So you all are familiar with the gravitational force. It is a force exerted by the earth on all the objects. It pulls all objects towards the earth.